When we go out to California, I'll put you on a good tri-tip sandwich.
Oh shit!
So,
I'm gonna be.
all right, we recording?
We're live.
Perfect. We might have to add some of that in, but all right,
Uh,
Jake, we've been talking about this. We've had a couple shots
We
at it now.
did,
We're sitting
yeah.
down. So why don't we start? Why don't you tell them where you're from?
I am from Seoul, South Korea.
Seoul,
So,
South Korea.
Makes me Korean.
Great.
South, not north. You know.
All right, so people that need help with geography, we got China, we got that peninsula coming out. You
Yeah.
have Japan right there. You're in South Korea, so you're the bottom half. Where's Seoul? If
Seoul
we're
is
talking about South Korea.
actually really close to Pyongyang, which is North Korean capital,
Okay.
and then it's probably west north.
Okay.
You know,
So it's pretty close to North Korea.
it's very close.
So a little bit of North Korean influence. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
so what do you miss most about South Korea?
Food. 1, 2, 3, food.
Yeah, which makes sense.
I do not miss people, because no matter where you go, people are fucked up. You know what I mean, including myself.
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, we got our problem, and then American has American's problem, right? You go to French, they have their own problem, right?
Okay. Well, okay. So tell me, what's the South Korean problem?
It just speak the fuck up. That's what I want to say. You know?
Really?
Yeah, because they're so concerned about like South Korean history is. You know, like off the camera, I think I mentioned to you, like maybe on, but we never attacked other countries, but we were always on defense mode. So one like entire country has to be like united individually. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, well, is this something that I want? It doesn't matter. Is this something greater purposes? Okay, let's go for that. You know what? Does that make sense? You know?
Yeah. So unity
Yeah.
is more important over an
Yeah, exactly.
individuals.
Yeah.
And so you're saying the reason is because of geographically, you're always being attacked. You know, you got China coming down. I mean, maybe we should talk about the history, because when we talk about history in the U.S., we're talking about 1700. I mean, we're talking 300 years ago. When you're talking about history in Korea, how long ago are you talking
You're
about?
talking about 50,000 years.
50,000 years.
That's a lot of years.
So how much, I don't know how you break down 50,000 years. How much of Korean history do you know? Like, is it something you guys are proud of, that you really study in school, that you have an awareness of, or is it you just understand how old the country is?
Well, it's all of that actually. You know, we learn our history in school, right?
Sure.
But that's definitely absolutely something I'm proud of too, because since I'm a chef. 50,000 years actually it's a big great piece of evidence of Korean cuisine too, because like fermentation, all that stuff, like if you think about 50,000 years ago, how did people store their food when you don't have a fridge system, you know?
So
Fermentate everything, you know?
So that's where the Korean flavor came from, is because of lack of refrigeration,
Yep.
and they just had to find a way.
They just had to find a way to store food, and then somehow it's just like, and then I know that like early mankind, they are so much smarter than, they didn't have an internet, they didn't even have phone, they didn't even have a radio or printer, all that stuff. I recently found out actually, to make Korean bean paste, you have to like boil the beans,
Okay.
and then you have to pound them out. You make like a big giant block. We call it maju. So it's like a hard block, and then now after that you hang it on the rooftop or whatever, and the wind takes care of all the stuff. But you have to hang it with this very specific, I don't know how you call it in English, very specific plant. It's because the like a good bacteria from the plant helps the fermentating
Sure.
process for the beans. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
how the fuck did they figure it out? Like 25,000 years ago. You know what I mean?
Well, then not just figure it out, but then, I mean, if you're talking about that long ago, I don't know when actual written literature, I'm sure that's before written literature. So for that information to be passed down, that's got to be all oral culture.
Yeah.
I mean, are stories really important in South Korea? Like, do you guys tell stories of your ancestors and battles and your history? Like, is there any stories that you can
It
relate
is,
to us?
but like when I was growing up, most history was like the stories that I heard from my grandparents was mostly related to Korean War because they were like teenagers during the
Okay.
wartime, you know.
Yeah.
But anything like way before that, it's just something you will find on the textbook or find books and stuff. But like,
So what kind of stories did you hear about the Korean War?
I remember my grandma told me that she was 13 when war happened, and then everybody had to evacuate out of the city, right?
She was in Seoul.
She was in Seoul. She's from Seoul, and then the North Korean is coming down really. I mean, they got Seoul, which is capital, within 3 days.
And who are they? Who's North Korea backed by at this point?
It's backed by Russia.
Okay.
You know, Russia provided the majority of weapons, and then later on, Chinese involved with the North Korea too. But anyway, like within 3 days, I believe they went down to Busan, which is Seoul is northwest,
Okay.
and then Busan is one of the city like very south east. You know, so yeah, they were coming down fast, and I remember my grandma was telling me the story that like everybody had to jump on the train, and then there are so many fucking people, and then just train took off, and then people just falling off from the train and then getting killed. Yeah, because they're like either you die here or take your chance. It's a 50-50. You die falling off from the train, or somehow you make it and you go somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, it just, and then I remember she told me when she was younger, like during the wartime, like she knew only one English word. I mean, it was sentence, "Give me Hershey, the chocolate," from American soldiers.
Yeah. Okay.
But they didn't have food.
Okay.
Like she didn't even know how to say food.
Okay. Okay. But she knew Hershey or
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So she thought that was generally all
food.
You know what I mean? Like it just, yeah, that was 70 years ago. So
Wow. So Russia comes in, they're backing North Korea. They immediately push everybody way down south, get close to taking over the whole peninsula.
Yeah.
And then is that when America steps in?
America steps in, shortly after.
Did she tell you any stories about that?
No, but she was saying like how, good memories is sometimes like, during the war, it's good memories. Oh, that was the first time I tried chocolate.
Sure.
You know what I mean? She told me stories like that. And then later on, actually, when she was like, I want to say like 50s, like after I was born, like when I was like 1 or 2, she worked, we call PX. That's like a store in military bases. You know, she used to actually work for American military PXs.
No
and
kidding.
so there are stories she was telling me. I actually told my mom, and then my mom told me she did all the illegal stuff. Like she buy a bunch of stuff from American PX, hide it, and then cross the town, and then try to sell regular Korean people. She made a bunch of money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, what a woman,
So what was her view of Americans getting involved, the military occupation? What was her view of that?
I want to say like at least I know that she didn't say anything bad thing about American soldiers, which is very natural reaction because without UN or American troops, we would have been fucked like week after war started.
Yeah.
So, and then American army got her job. Later on, so I don't think she's gonna
pretty
complain.
positive influence.
Yeah.
So fast forward today, how big is the American influence still there on what is that? The DMZ in between North and South Korea.
Yeah.
How big is American influence, American military there?
South Korea is, the American influence is like it's mega size. It's just big. It's just big. I mean it's all over. Like I mean right now you're talking about if I stop some random American person on the street, what do you know about South Korea? And I'm sure 9 of 10 they'll tell me Squid Game. But all these TV shows, music, Korean music, TV shows, it's all influenced from like American culture, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it was there are like very specific impact from America
Okay.
to Korean culture, but think about hip hop. You know, hip hop is American music, but it's everybody. You'll find a rapper every country in the world, right? It's just like that. But we
Yeah.
took it more. It's smeared more naturally because after the war we had nothing, and then U.S. troops actually rebuild the city for the food, jobs, whatever. Wherever they go, I mean there will be jobs and food. Like after the war, you're talking about basic survivor
Sure.
things, right? So yeah, it's been like street food. You go to Seoul, South Korea, you see the street food. You see very traditional Korean food, which is like a tteokbokki, like a rice cake, in a spicy sauce,
Okay.
and then you'll see like some bacon egg toast, deep fried egg toast
That sounds American.
with a Korean chili sauce.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's something like Korean people are really good at is we are not afraid of blending in together.
Yeah, blending the cultures.
Fusion.
So yeah, I mean, so you said the military's still there, but also just the American culture is really infused in South Korea. Is there anybody in South Korea that views that as like they're ruining our culture, they're ruining our history, anything like that, or is everybody pretty much appreciative of what America has done and brought to the country?
I want to say mostly we appreciate.
Really?
Okay. And then there are too many American, non-military American people, like English teachers, businessmen in Seoul. So, I mean, you guys are, like, it's like brothers. Like, we don't, oh, you're American. Okay, cool. But if you meet someone from France, I would say, oh, you're from France. Okay, I never met French person entire my whole life, unless you get out of Seoul, you know what I mean? But, oh, you're from America. Okay. You guys are everywhere. So,
Well, I want to go check it out. So
yeah, it's definitely, it's
take me with you.
Yeah.
Put me on some good food.
Yeah. Well, European fucking food coma, European. That's all you're going to do. Eat, drink, eat, drink, eat, drink. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to do it.
Yeah.
For sure. So what is, you say 50,000 years old? That's a long history. Does that show up in the architecture? Is there still old buildings? I mean, we said America, you're talking 300 years old. So if we go, we go to Washington or somewhere and we're like, oh, that building's 300 years old, to us, like, oh man, that's ancient.
Yeah.
Do you guys still do you have buildings that, oh, that building's 5,000 years old?
The nice thing about Seoul is Seoul's been a capital. I don't know exactly how long ago, but it's been always capital like for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
And then if you go to Seoul, like you will see very modern buildings, like you're talking about like 30, 40 floor
stories, you're talking like skyscrapers.
Tall buildings, and then across the street you'll see a like 1,000-year-old building, and then people are trying to restore that building.
No kidding.
In Seoul we have four big, we call it daemun, which means big door. So they are like a small like a fortress.
Okay.
So they were built to defend and invest any people comes in and out through that door. So anybody who try to get into Seoul, you have to go through that door. We're talking about a long time ago.
Okay, sure.
So they're like a policeman a long time ago, and
Sure.
they check their ID and stuff. And if whoever gets out of the door, they check their ID too.
Okay.
You know, so we have 4 of those big doors.
So how long ago are we talking?
I don't know exactly, but you're talking about long, at least like you're talking about long time. Yeah.
And these,
I want to say like 1,000 or longer, but
and these doors you're talking about, are they like gateways into the
they are like a
cities
big gates
on the main entryways or main roads
so you
coming
have
into?
west, east,
Okay.
and north and south.
Okay.
These doors, and then each door has very it's like a landmarks. Okay, you're in the west side. Where exactly on the west side? Well, I'm like 15 minutes walking distance from west door. Okay, do you see that building then? You know, that's how like old Korean people figure out their GPS system too, you know. So, I mean, there are, old buildings, and we still have a lot of place like a King Palace
Okay.
in Seoul,
Okay.
in the city. So,
What's the history of King's Palace?
I know that there are a few buildings King used to stay.
Okay.
And then there are a few buildings for like his wife or kids.
Okay.
Or, like his second wife or what. I mean, it's
Sure.
a king. He had a bunch of fucking women, you know. So he had all these like little palaces like all over Seoul. And then there are just still everywhere. And then there are pretty well maintained.
So do you guys, do you have a king now? Do you refer to a king? No.
We have a president like America.
President. Is the political system set up very similar?
Very similar. Yeah.
Okay. Elections, everything, constitution's pretty similar to
Except you guys do 4 years and we do 5.
5-year presidential terms.
Yeah.
But everything else pretty similar.
Everything is pretty similar.
Okay.
We have a Republican, we have a Democrat party, and they always being a douchebag to each other, and
they bicker there like they bicker here.
Actually, president election is coming in 2 months.
Really?
For South Korea. Yeah.
And do you track Korean news? No, I mean,
how
long have you been in the States?
4 years, 4.5 years actually.
Okay.
And this is how I know I'm getting fucking old, because like I try to look at more political stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, 5 years ago, I didn't give a fuck about this. You know?
Yeah. Well, sure. So, but you still follow Korean news outlets?
Yeah, I try. Yeah.
What do they ever? Is the U.S. ever a topic of conversation on those outlets or no?
When that happens, it's usually related to a weapon system. So technically, I mean, it's not technically, it's a fact. Like Korea is still at war.
Okay.
North and South.
Okay.
We're taking a break. It's been like what, 60 years. But
sure. It's just
the war never ended. We're taking a break. So of course for Korea, we want to have a better weapon to monitor North Korea, China, even Japan. You know, so but to make that happen, I mean, you gotta have an agreement with the U.S. And then U.S. is gonna be, like you guys are world police, so you guys are world leaders, so you have to have some sort of agreement with China and Japan, because Pacific is basically, if you have some sort of missile system, you cannot take anywhere in Pacific area.
Sure.
So they are talking about putting more missile system, like the candidates, and then one goes, sure, yeah, we gotta do that. The other one goes, no, that's gonna piss off China. And the other one goes, we don't give a fuck about China. The other one goes, you can't really do that. It's a lot more complicated than, you gotta think about economy and other stuff. It's not like I'm breaking up with my girlfriend.
So I mean, you're saying North Korea, South Korea is still at war. The war never ended. You're just at a stalemate. So you're saying you lived in Seoul, which is the northern part of South Korea. So how far is Seoul from North Korea?
To get to like literally the land, it's not gonna take I don't think it's gonna take longer than 2 hours to get there.
Drive. So it's
Drive.
pretty close.
It's very close.
Do you feel? I mean, is there any sort of pressure you feel being in Seoul to North Korea? I mean, did you have like, were there any scares where there's missile sirens going off and you got to go in the basement, or I mean, is there red alerts, or is there any sort of raised awareness of it living in Seoul?
Actually, I got a pretty good story to tell you. I got my fucking ass scared when I moved to Iowa first time when I saw the tornado.
Oh,
I ran down to a fucking basement like Flash. But when I was living in Korea, no, never.
really?
Yeah. Well, there's a missile going on and people are going to go on a rooftop. Where? You must be kidding.
Really?
Yeah, because it doesn't happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Think about it. South Korea is number 5 strongest army on earth.
Seriously?
And we have, if I'm not mistaken, we have pretty close to, I want to say like 40% of U.S. troops, Euro Air Force, military, army,
40%?
and the Navy are all over Korean land.
Whoa.
It's because Korea is, remember we talked about we are like a middle child?
Mm-hmm.
China here,
Mm-hmm.
Japan here, we're in the middle and they always attack.
Mm-hmm.
Tells you what? It's the best place to monitor the entire Pacific.
Because it's the peninsula?
Yeah.
So
because-
geographically,
yeah,
it's a
that's why U.S. troops are all
strong
over
military,
Korea.
okay.
Because if Japan decide to attack China, they gotta stop at Korea
mm-hmm.
to refill the fuel, food, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for China.
Mm-hmm.
One day they want to attack Japan, they gotta stop it. What does it tell you? Why U.S. is all over? Because they got the fucking hot spot right there. Nobody comes in, nobody goes out. Pretty simple.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's your view of Japan and China being in North Korea? And I mean the history of them attacking and you kind of being in the middle of it. What's South Korea's? What's the normal individual, the normal citizen?
This is something like a very emotional like area to talk about for majority of the Korean people. But for me, I'm just one individual in large country, but I don't give a fuck about China and I don't give a fuck about Japan. Here's what I'm going to tell. Here's what I'm going to say. I do know the fact is Japan or China, they cannot take Korea anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the younger brother grew up so much, you can't,
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, it's like if I'm not mistaken, number 5 strongest army on the planet.
That's impressive.
And which means, like, what does it tell you? Like, to attack other country, you gotta have a really good, like sublimes, airplanes, stuff like that. Because you gotta travel.
Sure.
But all ours, like strongest weapons are tanks and missiles, which means we can only attack only so much, only certain distance, right?
Sure.
So you try to come in, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not going out there on our own.
Your military isn't set up to go expand. It's set up for defense.
Yeah, we're not gonna attack anybody. But if you try to attack us, we're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. So whatever the like empty spots U.S. troops are filling in, like Air Force,
Oh, okay.
and Navies.
Yeah. So do you, you heard the stories from your grandma growing up. America came in, kind of saved, the South Koreans. So she was appreciative of him. She got to work on the base. It was good for her. Does the 20-year-old, 30-year-old South Korean now, when they think of the American soldiers, are they like, great, thanks for helping us out when we needed it, but it's time for you to go. We're strong enough to defend ourselves, or it's like, hey, we kind of like you guys here. Why don't you stick around?
To be honest with you, like I don't know like everybody's opinion, but
Sure.
way I see it is they don't care. You're here
Mm-hmm.
to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
Do your job.
They're not hassling you.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, you're here for a reason.
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. I'm sure, like, you don't want to be here. You're like 1,000 miles away from your home, right? But you're here to do your job. This is your job. I think that's how people approach to American troops or American soldiers. You know, like, I know that especially, like a male. You know, the military service is mandatory in South Korea. If you see U.S. soldiers on the street, like when I was doing my service, and when I see it, like
Back up. Military service in South Korea for a
it's
citizen is mandatory.
Mandatory.
Men and women, or just men?
Just men.
Okay, go ahead.
So early stage of my service, like fuck you, because we're like South Korean military is like we're in a prison without cage. We eat shitty food and like
Really?
you know, like busting our ass. I'm sure U.S. soldiers do, but you guys eat fucking steaks and shit. You know, like we eating rice and soup, and that's all we got. You know, and but towards the end, at the end of my service, when I see U.S. soldiers, I'm like, you know. Year and a half ago, my feeling was, fuck off, you know? Like, you don't call yourself a fucking soldier. You're like, after 5 o'clock, you go out, you have fun, drink, you know? Fucking Korean woman, who knows what they're... But, you know, or any other woman. But, like, towards the end of my service, I was like, God, you're just doing your job. You're away from home and family.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just... And I'm pretty sure, especially younger soldiers... It wasn't your decision. You just happened to be here, just following order or whatever. I mean, you made the decision. You agreed to come here, but did you have any other options? I don't think so. You know.
Yeah, you're just following orders.
Yeah, it's just
okay.
The same. It's like they're like sports players.
Yeah.
When your coach tells you to do something, they got to do it. You know.
Sure. So let's back up to something you said. Architecture, structures. Now you have your ancient buildings. You got the four doors. You know, old buildings is 50,000 years of history. Then you started talking about 30, 40 floor skyscrapers. What is that? Is that industry? Is that office buildings? What are these?
Some of them are like residential
apartments.
Yeah. And some of them are, offices. And some of them are, hotels. Some of them are.
Okay.
We're such a tiny land.
Like, compare it to...
It's the size of Iowa.
Really?
With probably, I can't remember exactly the Korean population. I think it's like ridiculously amount, like 40 million or something.
Seriously? Yeah. On the size of Iowa?
On the size of Iowa.
What does Iowa have, like?
Probably
million?
Like 3 million.
3 million, something like that?
Yeah.
So you have 40 million people in a country the size of Iowa.
And so we don't have enough fucking land, so we have to build it up. You know what I mean? Like everything has to be tall.
Really?
Yeah.
Does that have any effect on the culture? That extreme of a population density?
That actually, I believe that helped. Seoul is, Busan too, any other city is same, but we don't. Like Busan, you go there, it's like California. They have ocean, they have a beach, you know? But Seoul...
Busan, the south?
Is south.
Okay.
And Jeju, you go to Jeju, it's a small island. You know, it's like Hawaii. You see tropical trees and shit like that. Seoul is like New York. It's cold. You have people like fucking Trump. They are mean, you know? So, we don't really have weapon. As a solar, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But the thing is, like, they just keep building the shit up, and then it ended up happening at one of the modernist city entire world. It's because, well, when you put up a building like 45 floor tall buildings, how fast your elevator has to be. You know what I mean? Like things like that. So the technology is becoming developing a lot faster.
So you guys have a lot of innovation.
Oh yeah, we had to. Otherwise, we're not gonna be on the game. You know.
Well, I mean, you can't say that you had to, because I've seen the pictures online, right? Those memes of like capitalism versus communism, and they show Korea at night and South Korea is all lit up and North Korea is all dark, right? So you can't say that you don't have to, but your system allowed for it.
Yeah.
And your population demanded it.
Yeah.
That's fast. So that's a lot of that you're saying is apartments. So what's the economics of it look like? What is a so if you say in America, middle class American, maybe they have a house somewhere in suburbia. They probably have two cars. They have some space. Maybe they have two kids, whatever, a dog. The American dream. What's a middle class lifestyle look in South Korea?
You middle class. You have your own apartment.
Your own apartment.
Your own apartment, not the house.
Okay.
If you see someone who has a house, like let's just say size of 4 bedrooms,
Sure.
like Iowa real estate standard, like $300,000 house. That quality, if you have it in Seoul, you're talking about somebody who owns company.
Really?
Like, you're talking about like not a bullshit company, like owner of McDonald's Korea or owner of Samsung.
Really?
Yeah. Like I said, it's just there's no extra land in Seoul. So for you to build that house, have a backyard, have a front yard.
So real estate has serious wealth, serious money to it.
Imagine if somebody tried to have a house in middle of LA downtown.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they're not making any more of that land.
yeah. But if somebody has that, you're talking about this motherfucker's billionaire probably, right? Yeah.
Wow. So let's go back to that middle class family. If that maybe they own an apartment, they're a strong middle class family. Do they have a car? Do they have two cars? Do they taxi everywhere? Is it?
I wouldn't say it depends on jobs. Like some times, like it depends on your job. You have to have you have to come in longer traveling to get to the work. But Korean people usually I want to say one car per family.
Per family?
Yeah. Because subway is #1 subway system on the planet.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's the cleanest and it's the fastest.
No kidding.
It's the cheapest.
Seriously?
I'm
How do you
serious.
combine all that? How do you combine cleanest, fastest, cheapest?
Because I traveled like 26 countries. I've been into plenty of subways entire my whole life.
You've been into 26 countries?
Yeah.
Well, I get you. So you said the size of Korea is like the size of Iowa.
Yeah.
So you traveling different countries is like us traveling states.
Yeah.
Okay. So go tell me about the subways.
It's just fucking clean. Like I don't know what else to say.
So, all right, but even that, you say it's clean.
It's clean.
You have
it's fucking,
whatever 9-10 million people in Seoul. Whatever
they're
it is.
like jumping in the subway to get to work.
Everybody's using the subway. How is it? You can't keep anything in America clean like that. People throwing trash. Is that a cultural thing, or do they have crews coming through? Like, how does it stay clean like that? You understand the question?
It's just the cultural stuff, Like think about like why are there like you go to Paris, smells like fucking piss, right? Their subway smells like fucking piss.
Really?
Yeah, and it's terrible. I've never been to New York.
Okay.
But I've been to San Francisco and then I've been to LA, and then I did not take subway, but I'm pretty sure it's the same as a fucking Paris. It's they just don't. Why are there so many crimes in that transportation places, which is like a subway, bus terminals?
You don't have that in Seoul?
Because it's fucking dirty.
Does
that make sense?
It does. If community has pride in something, they take care of it, they keep it clean.
It's a human nature. Like if something's dirty, either you want to clean up or you want to make it even dirtier.
Take advantage.
Yeah. And
so I'm still not clear on what's keeping it. Is it the citizens, a collective, that they keep it clean? Like nobody litters, and if you see trash, you're picking it up, or
they'll pick up. Yeah, they'll pick up, and then there are actually we do appreciate our like public cleaners. Who cleans the streets, and then
yeah. So that's not a job. It's not like you don't look down on the garbage man.
No, fuck no. With this out guy. Like imagine you're dating tomorrow. You get up and then you walk out of your door and then you see a fucking plenty of somebody's puke or this is one of like I think that job is like maybe a lot of people wouldn't agree with me, but majority of Korean people take that as this is something definitely I can do, but he is best at it. So he's a maestro, he's a masterpiece at his work. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yeah, you appreciate people for their
like
skills.
Same thing
with
as baseball players or football players, you know, like you as a watcher, you just watching this game on TV and wow, you should have done it. You should throw the curveball, not a fucking strike. You can talk, but can you?
Can you do it? Yeah.
No, it's like, you know.
So would you say that South Korea maybe has more respect for individuals and their talents and how they fit into society rather than America is maybe
America is being
arrogant? Is that the word?
I want to say, yeah, that might be the right word, being arrogant or being confused. I want to say being confused, you know?
Sure.
Like, you know, American people fight for liberty and freedom, but technically you took, I mean, Native Americans' land anyway. So what the fuck are you talking about for freedom? You know? It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, you just, for me, I mean, you and your fucking brother, which is back in England, you guys didn't get along. So fuck this, I'm moving. And then you came here and then took down somebody's family. How does that work?
That might be the best illustration or summary of American history. Just screw our brother in England. We're coming here. We're taking your land.
I love America.
Yeah.
I like my woman. She's American. I respect American culture. I respect people here. But some of the things it doesn't fucking make sense. I'm not even joking. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm fucking dead serious actually right now. Like, how does that work? what fucking freedom are you talking about here? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we were fighting for our freedom because Japan occupied Korea.
All right.
For a long time, and then through the history, Chinese always attacked Korea. So we had to fight. Fuck off. We had to fight. You know, we're hiding in the mountains and fucking do the guerrilla shit. You know.
Yeah.
But for America, you fucking came here with a bunch of rifles and shoot out the people who has arrows. What freedom are you talking about? I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm just saying what I think, you know.
Yeah. Hey, honest question. I wish I could explain it to you, but America, we don't know our history as well.
But you guys have hot dogs, cheeseburgers, baseball, football. So there you go.
Baseball's become really popular.
Oh, yes, fucking
it's huge.
There used to be soccer, but now it's like baseball is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know that I played, and there was a lot of guys that they got excited about the opportunity to go play in Korea. I mean, you can make good money.
I mean, it's good for your family because safe, food is good. I mean, we welcome usually foreigners. You know, we try to speak, like, even though we're not good English speakers, we learn English, but like, I mean, you learn Spanish, I'm pretty sure, when you're in high school, but how many do you remember? You know, it's the same type of deal, but we try to, like, okay, like, do you need help? You know, like, let me help you, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. So is Korea more welcoming to outsiders and welcoming people in and trying to speak their language and meet them and make them comfortable than maybe what you see in America?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, like, in, like, if I say, if I see, I see the frustration as well. Like, if I see some South American people speak Spanish, because there are a large enough population in America.
Sure.
But I'm for me, like, for American people, I mean, speak English. This is America, or America is international language. I mean, English.
English. Sure.
Yeah, do it. But I think that's something like, I can say it. I'm not American, but I'm in America. So let me speak international language.
Yeah.
My question is to make it a lot easier. You know that there are a decent population of Latinos, Asians. How come you never thought about trying to understand their language? Because your population and their population is becoming same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
know?
It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So,
I mean, everything I'm hearing you say, it seems like the Korean culture is much, would you say, outward focused, or you're thinking about the other person? I mean, on the subway, you guys are picking up, you're cleaning. You're not saying, oh, that's not my responsibility. When new people come into your country, you're saying, oh, I want to learn your country, your language. I want to try and communicate with you and make you feel welcome. Instead of saying, that's not my responsibility. You learn where maybe you're saying America is more about like, this is
I mean,
America.
think about
it's
it.
not
Like,
my responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes more sense. Like, Earth is, we are one, and then of course English helps to communicate. Guy from Africa or America or Asia, But if you think about the big picture, it's just my opinion. If you think about big picture, it's just like it makes more sense. You try to, oh, what are you trying to say? Versus, well, this is America, so you should speak. I mean, you should. I mean, you know what I mean. But I mean that kind of. I don't want to say attitude, but that kind of attitude is not helping. Like
Sure.
I think I told you a long time ago, many times before, like fucking nothing's united in the United States. Maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll help United people.
Yeah.
Like, this is the dumbest shit that I heard like last year. We got a fucking without Mexican people, who's gonna fucking cook in this country? Who's gonna who's gonna fix your house? Who's gonna do the plumbing? Who's gonna fix your driveway? What the fuck are you talking about? And I'm not gonna say who said it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? What can you do without them? Zero.
Yeah.
Because no matter what country you go, America is worst, by the way. Any younger generation is entitled. You go to Korea, Korean younger generations, they are entitled.
Sure.
But America is worst.
Sure.
Can you imagine when we become 50s, we have a fucking house problem without Mexican people? We're fucked. I'm flying my ass back to fucking Korea where decent plumbers are. Shit.
That's funny. So have you traveled around America much?
Yeah, I've never been to East Side, but
Have you been south at all?
no, but I would love to. Like, I'd love to go to Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or
I think so. I mean, and you mentioned you kind of laugh at the idea of United States because everything's decentralized and split up. I think that the attitude. I mean, maybe it's similar throughout the U.S., but I think if you go south, you go to Southern California, you go into Texas, you go into Florida, there's a lot more people that Spanish is a lot more common language. So, not that everybody knows how to speak Spanish, but you're around it more, so you pick up on it. And like I studied Spanish in high school, like you said, but I really learned more Spanish in the clubhouse when I'm playing with Venezuelans and Dominicans and all these Latin guys. So I think the more south you go, I think maybe the more integrated it is because it has to be.
yeah,
They're exposed to it more. We're in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah. There's not a lot of plenty of
population's
room,
pretty wide up here. Yeah.
Which is funny because when you guys had Civil War, South was going for it, I think. But I think at one point every country started from like. I don't imagine many countries will fight for. Obviously, like when there's a war, it's the decision between high tier people. You know what I mean? Two different parties. But at least the north part, like we're talking about just regular soldiers. They were fighting for black people, slavery. You know what I mean? I don't think many countries can do that, include my country.
Why do you say that?
It's because it's a tough fucking decision. Like. You imagine like when was the Civil War? Like 200 years ago, 300.
Yeah, something like that.
Right?
Again, I don't know my history like I
And
should.
then you're a regular as white person.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go to battlefield
Mm-hmm.
to fight for black slaves.
Mm-hmm.
It, it's fucking hard thing to do.
You got to put your life on your line for something that's
200, 300 years ago, culture like slavery was it's like I'm owning this cup. It's the same thing, you know what I mean? But I have to fucking fight for my cup. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it doesn't make sense, does it? Right?
Sure. Okay, I'm with you.
But people did it for the greater purposes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there are still like I believe there are still like plenty of people believes in human rights and then
Yeah.
all that stuff. But
So do you think it, based on what you're saying, is there more people in America that are willing to go make the risk and fight for
at least before.
Right?
But the problem in America right now, I mean, it's any other country, including my country too. Like the bigger it gets, we know the basic rule. Always like one fuck screw up entire society, right? There was one, but since you have so much population and it's a bigger country, you have more one fucks there. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? And then these motherfuckers somehow uniting together through TikTok or whatever, and then keep fucking up the country. You know what I mean? Like we have those fucks in Korea too.
Sure.
But it's just not as aggressive as, or as, at least at this moment, it's more like as a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so I wonder what's better though. I mean, you said not from the. I'm not talking about from the entitlement standpoint. I'm talking about from. It sounds like Americans are more aggressive. They're more willing to go fight, which can be a good thing if it's the right cause. But it can also stir up war. Where you're saying Korea is much more about unity. They're much more about just let's keep the peace. Which one's better? Or can you find a way to integrate both? That hey, we're going to decide what causes really need to fight. I mean, Civil War ultimately was a good thing. Like that was something we had to get rid of, right? So that fight had to happen. Slavery we need to get rid of, so that fight had to happen. So the willingness to go fight that was a good thing. But maybe we tangle ourselves up with some fights that maybe we shouldn't really be fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess the question, this is a bit philosophical, but how do you integrate the two and make those decisions? So, but you said you been to 20 some odd countries? 20?
Yeah, 26. Yeah.
Is that pretty common for people in Korea? I mean, I guess since it's such a small area, people travel around a lot more.
I think at least people around me, yeah.
I've been to Canada and I've been to Mexico. And when I was in Mexico, it was Cancun, and it was, it was the.
Well, you're American. There are 50 fucking states, different countries.
Yeah,
and
so, I've probably been to 40 states. So I mean, so I haven't traveled around. So name off some of the countries you've been to.
I lived in, that I lived in Australia, and then I went to Central Europe, like France, Italy, places like that to watch soccer, to go. And then, I think I've been to majority of European countries. And
really?
Then,
well, once you're there, hitting a bunch of countries.
Yeah, it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd love to go to Africa one day, but that'll be my goal. I would love to go to Africa and Argentina one day. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And but you actually lived in Australia. Did you live in any others? I guess, did you ever go to Japan or China?
Yeah, I've been to
both
Japan.
of them?
Not China.
Not China.
Yeah.
What did you think of Japan? Did it feel similar? Did it feel like home? Or
it's very similar, except that people are a little more weird.
How so?
Because just their culture, like they're just like I remember one time, like I was watching Japanese comedy show, and then they'll just keep hitting each other's head. Like slapping each other's head, and they thought at least that what I saw is it seemed like they think it's hilarious. I'm like, dude, that looks like fucking hurt. Like it doesn't look funny. What the fuck are you doing? That kind of like Japanese culture. Like it's just like I understand, but also at the same time,
it's that slapstick.
Yeah, I don't have to like really like go for it either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just like I get it. It's your part.
Yeah. Okay.
It's your part of culture, but that doesn't mean I have to fucking laugh about it.
Yeah.
That looks fucking stupid. You know. So
Okay.
yeah.
So Japan, but then you lived in Australia for a while. How was that?
You know, slavery.
What?
Work school.
Oh, slave. Oh, yes.
You know.
Is that because of the Australian school system, or is that just
It's
that's
just,
just
you
life?
know, I was being student,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I wanted to pay off my school loan and stuff like that. But it's also like the fuckers didn't want to work, so Asians got to fill up and then doing all the food.
What do you mean the Australians didn't want to work?
They don't want to work. They're
Is it they don't have? Is the work ethic different there?
yeah, it's for considering big city. I mean, we're talking about general ideas, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, like, I've met like phenomenal people in Sydney, Australian people, but and I also met, God, you are a fucking piece of shit people too. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like work ethic wise.
Work ethic. Okay.
Yeah. So
Why is that? Do you know?
I don't know this is true, but more country gets hotter. Like you're from California, people are lazier.
Oh.
And I
okay,
believe
okay,
that.
okay.
I believe that. You know, it's because it's just fucking hot. What are you gonna do? You're not gonna go out. You just want to sit and
Relax.
yeah, lay down in your hammock and then fucking drink.
That's an interesting thought. I've never thought of that.
And then hotter it gets, people drink more Coca-Cola. I don't know why, but it does. It's true. I don't know why. You know.
That's funny, man. So you and I met training jujitsu, and did you started training in Korea?
I started in that was 2014. So yeah,
2005. Is it big over in Korea?
it's getting bigger than like.
So there
before.
is it. I mean, jujitsu. That's a Japanese word, right? Am I, jujitsu.
Yeah.
But so
Yes,
do they? Is it Brazilian jujitsu there, or is it?
I mean, we like 99.9% we train sports jiu-jitsu, which is Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
Yeah.
And not that I can tell the difference.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be like a judo, and then
Sure.
they got separated, and then I mean, technically it's from Japan.
Sure.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, jujitsu. Yeah. And then it. I don't know the whole
And
history,
some
but it jumped to Brazil.
crazy family, and
yeah.
you know, this is ours. You know, so I mean, I don't think they ever said it, but you know, like they did big part of work for modern jiu-jitsu. You know, so where the jiu-jitsu became. So
And you're a purple belt now.
yeah, I am purple
What did you get your purple belt in Korea or in
in
America?
America. I got my blue belt in Korea, and right after I got my blue belt, I moved to America.
Then you moved here.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Did you get your purple belt from Jared?
Yeah, I did.
What
I
was that
still
like?
don't know why. I still don't know why. Yeah. I mean, actually, I tried to refuse.
No kidding.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm not ready for this. You know, so why?
Explain that to me, because that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, he gave me purple belt, which is out of fucking blue. I didn't see that coming. And then like 2 months before that happened, he gave me my fourth stripe. So I just got promotion like 2 months ago, like 2-3 months ago. I can't remember exactly.
Sure.
But why the fuck? Why? And then he called my name. And he's approaching to me with the purple belt. I'm like trying to back away. Like no. I'm not ready for that. And then he gave it to me anyway. But now I think back, he knows that like as a instructor, I guess he thought I was okay to get this, and then that'll motivate me more, you know. So even though I wasn't ready, I am 100% hands down. Like I wasn't ready when I got my purple belt, but he has faith in me that I won't be lazy or whatever. That'll be a motivation, and I'll develop my skills.
Yeah.
You know, so
Interesting. What's did you notice any differences going from jiu-jitsu in Korea to the US? Or no?
it's here is more like more chilled. like people take it as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Korea, these motherfuckers, it's a hobby, but they are going for like fucking 100% like a competition.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Why is that? Do you know? Do you think it's, I mean, again, we're getting kind of philosophical. Does it have deep roots in you were always being attacked? You know, you always had to be on the defensive.
maybe,
I mean,
yeah.
your
Yeah,
back was
actually,
always
I
against
never
the
thought
wall.
about that way, but maybe, yeah. Maybe. Because when I was there, I was going 100%. Like, when I was second stripe white belt, I already fucked my shoulder because I didn't tap out, you know? And then I hurt my elbows.
Yeah.
And I hurt my knee. That all happened at like first year. And then I start to realize, shit, if I get hurt, I can't train. How dumb is this? You know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, maybe that's why you're right. Maybe that's why that's something in our blood. Maybe they just want
Your back's always against the wall, and you have to
it's
keep.
like
So, which I kind of have a question. I read a book. I think it was Fighter's Mind. I can't remember the author right now. It'll come to me. But he talked about a lot of fighting throughout history, and it's been years since I read the book, so I'll probably get some of this wrong. But I mean, he talked about the samurai and how they would practice and they would train, they would fight to the death. And you have books like the Five Rings.
Miyamoto Musashi.
Yeah, exactly. Which I haven't read that one, but I've heard summaries of it, and I would like to read it. Does that play into it? I mean, samurais, I think, is more of a Japanese thing. Is that popular in the Korean culture too? Does that show up in the Korean culture as well?
No, not at all. That's 100% Japanese culture. And
Okay.
Samurais, and then the Japanese culture and the Korean culture are completely different.
Okay.
So I'm not a big samurai guy, so I don't know.
I don't know much either.
Yeah, I don't know much about samurai
I didn't know
culture back there, but I do know that they're like. I'm assuming they're like a knight, you know, like in the Western culture. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
you own a property or you own a like some castle or whatever, you know. But Korean culture wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I know that samurais specifically. The long time ago, one time when Japan attacked Korea, it's because there are so many fucking samurais in Japan, and then they were trained, they were born to kill. Then it's a peaceful time in Japan. So Japanese fucking king back then had to do something. Otherwise, it's gonna be they're gonna start a coup or whatever. Yeah, start civil war. So they decide to attack China. And then of course they came to Korea. Well, we gotta pass through. And then Korea goes, it doesn't work that way. You just don't fucking stop. You know, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then we resist. And then Japan goes, well, then fuck you. You're gonna be our practice rehearsal war. We're gonna start attack you. And then they're actually really good war, like a famous war. Like his name is Lee Sun-shin. Like I know the U.S. Navy study him.
Okay.
Because he beat 200 some Japanese ships with 12 ships.
No.
Yeah, so he was really good at like reading like the ocean and motivating his soldiers and stuff like that. He didn't.
This is all a naval conflict.
Yeah, but he did not destroy those. I think he destroyed like first like 50, 60, and then they got scared and then they just fucking ran away.
Yeah.
With 12 ships. So it's I know that one of my friend used to be Air Force in Korea, and then he was talking about he had to learn some of Lee Sun-shin's formation. So way he does that, and so yeah, it's just like I know that's I mean, long story short, I know that's the samurais, they are like trained to fucking kill. Right.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was any overlap.
Yeah, greatest soldiers probably. You know what I mean? Like they got only one purpose: kill. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I bet. Yeah, but I don't think we didn't have time like that. Like we're always on a defense mode. So like,
Sure.
fuck.
Sure. That's interesting, man. Well, we've been at this for about an hour. So anything you want to talk about before we wrap up? We covered a lot of subjects.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. I'm sure there's gonna be like another time like
We
this.
should do it again. So you're a chef.
Yeah.
You gonna start a Korean restaurant here in Des Moines?
Hopefully, yeah, pretty soon. Hopefully, yeah.
You have a name picked out?
It's actually I do, and
You ready to share it or no?
not yet.
Okay.
Because I don't know that's gonna be the one. You know,
Anything we should know about your restaurant?
it's gonna be Korean food. Obviously, there is no Korean restaurants in Des Moines, and then I want to open it. And I mean, who's gonna bring me the better stories than this Korean trained chef opening a Korean restaurant in Des Moines? You know, so
Yeah.
I wanted to do it because, I mean, I guess here's something I want to say is like there are a lot of bullshit, fake Korean food. I know that they're out there, but I just wanted to fix it. Like, it's like people gonna spend money, and then I think whether you spend penny or whether you spend $100, you have right to know right information and the right food. And then
So it's more of a story to you than
it's more like a mission. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whether you like my food or not, I guess it's my legacy to convince people that, okay, if it was wrong, then let me fix it. Let me bring it right stuff for you. But this is the food that I grew up with, and I'm Korean, so you know, it's just like, yeah, it's like a legacy or a mission. You know, I know I want people in Des Moines, or bigger picture, like people in Iowa, I want them to know right Korean food.
Yeah. So that history, that
Yeah.
is serious to you. I mean,
Like, you're from California, like you think food, there are like major population of Korean people in California, right? Their food is not Korean food. It's LA Korean food. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But I mean, obviously they had to change it
Yeah.
because of the ingredient matters.
Sure.
You know? But
So actually, you want to hear a funny story? So I told you I played baseball, right? And my first, I graduated college. Yeah, I think I played. We were in a conference tournament. Lost out of the tournament. Next day we graduated from school. The next day I signed with independent team in Sioux City, and they're wrapping up their spring training. I signed with the team, and that day we're getting on a bus to go down to El Paso, Texas. 22-hour bus drive. I don't know anybody, right? I'm rookie on the team. I'm greenhorn, wet behind the ears. Don't know anything. So when we get down to El Paso, and this team they've been in spring training together. They all know each other. I'm just kind of joining. I'm trying to find my way, right? We get down to El Paso. Well, the way they split up the hotel rooms, because at that time I think we were going to be there for like 5 days or something, and the way they split up the hotel rooms is some of the veterans will. They'll get to have their own room, and then a lot of the guys they'll get to pick their own roommate, and then they basically take the rookies and
just
fill in
whatever,
wherever they need. So my first professional experience was I was rooming with a guy from South Korea.
Ouch.
A great dude, but he spoke hardly any, like zero English, right? So we'd be sitting in our hotel room, and I'm flipping channels, watching TV or something. He's got his headset on, and I didn't know this, but apparently the way some people learn languages is they'll memorize the Lord's Prayer in that language. So then they kind of have access to all those words. And so I hear him kind of like muttering this, and, he takes his headset off and he looks at me. He's like, Lord's Prayer? And I'm like, I didn't grow up in a church, so I'm like,
dude, I'm from California. I'm not from Texas,
yeah,
man.
I was like, I'm trying to like recall it from the movie Boondock Saints and like try and recite it, and I'm like messing it up, and he goes, Christian, and I'm like, oh man, I can't talk to my roommate, and, now I'm going to hell, but whatever, it is what it is, I guess, and
that's just the fucked up part about it. Like, I had to I hate to stop you there, but I gotta stop. Like Korea is just so fucking dramatic. Like, I mean, just because you don't know this, Because I can imagine exactly how he said it. You're no fucking Christian. You know what I mean? Like,
he wagged his finger in my face.
Chill out. You know what I mean?
But then
it's like you're not.
So
You know.
yeah, so this is, I think, then a couple days later, like he would carry around this, like it was almost like a crock pot type thing that he could cook, and he would bring Korean noodles with him. And I mean, they were in packages that looked like high class top ramen essentially, but they're Korean noodles, and he's like, trying to talk to me, you want Korean food? Yeah. And I was like, sure, man, I'll try it. And he hands me a bowl, and he's like looking at me like real serious, like if I'm gonna like it. And I go and I take a bite. I'm like, man, this is good. He goes, you are Korean.
Yeah.
And then from there, we're like best friends,
Yeah, that's what Korean people do too. Like if we try to find like some kind of common area through the food. Okay, we offer you like this? Okay, we're a family now. It's like a very they said like a people like Korean people are like, we drink like Irish, and then we have a temper like Italian people. But if you think about like a mobs, that's how you become a brothers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't even realize it at the time, but yeah, as soon as I liked it, you are Korean, and we were best friends. Yeah. Then we'd walk wherever and go get food and hang out, and I mean, we still couldn't really talk, but you could start to understand each other.
This is like, I got a funny story too, the last one, but like Korean baseball players, they eat like sumo wrestlers, like.
Really?
They eat shit ton of food. And then, Suzuki Ichiro. One of the greatest batter in Major League history.
Yeah.
He's like, when first time he faced the Korean national team, and then he's in Japan, why is this motherfucker so big? Like, they're the size of like fucking Americans. Because they eat shit ton of fucking food. And then when you said about like, I'm sure he had the fucking 6 packs of.
Oh yeah, so
like
so many noodles.
Yeah.
So food's a big cultural piece apparently.
It is.
And then how you make friends,
food and drinks. Yeah.
And you said what's the Korean drink that you have?
Soju. Yeah.
Are you gonna be able to get some of that at your restaurant?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the real stuff.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I want to come check it out. Maybe we'll do something with food once you get that all figured out. We'll shoot something again. Maybe we'll try some stuff and we'll have some soju.
That's gonna be like after we close the restaurant. That's gonna be our studio.
Right yeah. There you go.
It's a deal.
Perfect. Well, dude, hey, thanks a lot.
All right,
you're an awesome dude. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
If you happen to listen to this, if you know anybody, immigrants, refugees, people with cool stories, people from other countries, I want to hear about culture. I want to learn stuff. I got some other people coming on with some really cool war stories and refugee stories and stuff like that. I'm excited to hear. So send me a message on social media if you know anybody. And Jake, this was awesome. We'll do it again. I'm excited to come try out the restaurant.
Yeah.
So
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. We're all done.